Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is the 1973 made-for-TV horror film, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Now, the movie was directed by John Newland, who actually directed a lot for television. Like, he directed episodes of shows like Star Trek, Hawaii Five-0, The Night Gallery, and One Step Beyond, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Now, growing up, this was a movie that my dad would always tell me about. My dad saw this movie when he was a little kid, and he said this movie scared the shit out of him when he was a little kid, and growing up, my dad would always tell me about this movie, tell me how it was a movie which really scared him as a kid. This and the movie Horror Express, the Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing movie, are both movies that my dad would always tell me about. Like, he said these movies really did scare him when he was a little kid, so ever since I was a little kid, I was interested in seeing this movie, and when I was 13 years old, my aunt actually got my dad this bootleg DVD of the movie. At the time she got this, I don't think the movie was actually available on official DVD. Now it is. Like, now I think Warner Brothers actually put out an official DVD of this movie, but back when I was 13, I don't think this movie was actually available on official DVD, so my aunt actually got the movie off eBay on this, like, bootleg DVD. And this is the menu for the DVD. Such an exciting and interactive menu, don't you think? So, I first saw this movie when I was 13 years old, and I'll admit, when I first saw this movie, keep in mind, I was only 13 when I first saw this movie, but when I first saw this movie, I'll admit, I didn't like it that much when I first saw it, and I guess it's because my dad built this movie up for me. Like, he always told me that this was like the scariest movie he ever saw, and the way my dad would always describe this movie to me, he always made it sound like a really creepy movie, and when I first saw it at 13 years old, I was just so disappointed with it, and I kind of made fun of the way the demons look in the movie, and even my dad has said that this movie really hasn't held up very well for him. But as the years went by, I watched this movie more often, and this movie has really grown on me, and honestly, yes, the demons in the movie look a little cheesy, but honestly, if you watch this movie under the right circumstances, this is a genuinely creepy freaking movie. And also, I actually think this movie is kind of ballsy, too, because this movie does not have a happy ending at all. And this movie also kind of has the feel of an elongated Twilight Zone or Night Gallery episode. Now, the basic plot line of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is it's about this young woman named Sally Barnum, I hope I'm saying her last name right, and her husband move into this old house that she recently inherited from her grandmother who recently died. So, in the beginning of this film, Sally's, like, fixing up the house, and there's this old room that she wants to make into an office, and in this room is an old fireplace, which is literally sealed off with bricks, and the side of the fireplace where you scoop out the ashes is bolted shut, and her carpenter, who also worked for her grandmother, warns her not to open up the fireplace, and when she asks him why, he doesn't really give her a clear answer. He just warns her not to open it up. But of course, she doesn't listen to the old man, and she opens up the side of the fireplace, and it turns out that this fireplace is actually the gateway to hell, and all these little demons start coming out of the fireplace, and basically in the movie, they're now trying to take Sally to hell because they believe that her soul will set them free. And throughout the film, she's constantly seeing these little demons and being terrorized by them, but her husband, Alex, doesn't believe her and actually thinks she's going crazy. But Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, I actually think, is a genuinely creepy horror film. Like, yes, the little demons in the film, they look a little cheesy, but once again, if you watch this movie under the right circumstances, this is a really, really creepy film, because just think about it. These little demons are trying to drag this woman to hell where she'll suffer for all eternity. That's a horrifying idea. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is definitely one of my favorite made-for-TV horror films from the 70s. And the 70s actually had quite a few really good made-for-TV horror movies. Like, you had films like Bad Ronald and Trilogy of Terror and the Tobe Hooper Stephen King adaptation Salem's Lot, and of course Steven Spielberg's Duel. Like, you had a lot of really good horror films in the 70s, which also happened to be made-for-TV movies. But I would definitely recommend Don't Be Afraid of the Dark if you haven't seen this already. Once again, there are some aspects of this movie which are really cheesy, but if you watch this under the right circumstances, I really do think this is a very creepy movie, and once again, I would recommend it. Now, there was a remake made to this movie in 2011, which was co-written and produced by Guillermo del Toro, and I thought the remake was okay, but it really didn't do that much for me. But yeah, that's my review on Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, and bye.